Hi, and welcome back to the Sales Growth Showcase, where we share insights from some of today's top sales leaders so that you can make more money and be better connected to your customers. I'm joined today by Anthony Zhang. Anthony, thank you so much for being here.
Really excited to be here, Mark. Thank you so much for having me.
And why don't you briefly tell us a little bit about who you are and how you impact others?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a startup sales leader. I've been a part of about 6 to 7 startups now. The way that I impact others, that's an interesting question. I think, for me personally, anything that I can do around coaching, training, you may see some random posts that I have on LinkedIn every now and then as well. But really focusing on teaching through personal lessons and personal failures throughout my career to, in hopes of influencing someone else in a positive way. And then, of course, I have a couple of mentees as well. So that's kind of my spiel.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to hearing from some of your experiences over the next few minutes here. So, starting off, you've shared that you work with startups, and I want you to think or share with us what you're thinking about with all of this change going on and uncertainty with some of our customers. What are you thinking about today on how you're looking forward to helping your teams grow sales?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think now more than ever, you have to be very communicative with your team. Communication is incredibly important. You can't just, someone can't just pop into your office or over to your desk anymore to say, "Hey, do you have a minute? I have a question." If they Slack you and you're not available, well, there starts to become a challenge, right? There becomes friction. So I think, now more than ever, different ways and methodologies of being able to communicate with your team effectively, still being able to drive that culture, right? And being creative with that. You can't just do happy hours anymore. I can tell you right now, if I have to do another virtual happy hour on a Friday, I'm going to go and jump off my balcony. But you got to be more creative. You got to be more responsive, and still providing that level of coaching, leadership, autonomy. And so, those are kind of the different things that I'm doing in today's world, that's pivoting from what I used to do, where people could just, come to me and hang out for a little bit and chat.
So that's fantastic. So make sure you're focusing on communication to be able to provide that coaching as if we were continue to be in person, Absolutely. Even though a lot of it's virtual now. So let's shift that. What's the challenge associated with that? What are you running into? I mean, there's obvious you're not in the room with them, but are there other challenges that you're seeing in association with still trying to have that fantastic communication with your team?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me personally, I like to move very quickly, right? So if I see an area of opportunity, if I see a problem, if I see something that I want to change, I tend to just do it, right? That's just how I work. I like to execute very quickly. I like to adapt very quickly. And whether it was during pre-pandemic or post-pandemic, this has always been a struggle of mine. And so something that I'm working on, and now even more diligently than before, is actually slowing down a little bit, right? So continuing to cast the vision and relay what the problem is, or relay what the new initiative is, and really getting buy-in from every single member. And for me, my energy really comes through when I'm, in person and talking, and I talk with my hands a lot, as you can see, right? And so, I have to kind of figure out, how do I filter that energy, that rah, right, for your team into a camera, right? And so working on some of those things, casting the vision, again, relaying the problems and initiatives, and then slowly releasing that process, right? And while you're doing that, you're measuring, you're taking iterative steps, and seeing how it works. So those are the things that I'm actually working on right now, is how do I channel my thoughts, my energy, my initiatives, my passion through a camera, right? And getting everybody to continue to buy in on that.
Well, from one hand talker to another, I get it. And the good news is that your energy is still coming through loud and clear. But it's really interesting the way that you're thinking about you still want to show that passion, that connection, that enthusiasm with your team, and how you're focusing on how you best convey that even through a virtual experience. So
Absolutely.
now,
One of the things I actually got, one of the things I sorry to interrupt, one of the things I actually got was a standing desk. I found myself sitting and trying to do the same things, and it didn't work as well. So I would say one thing I got was the standing desk, so I could kind of still emulate that energy and that passion.
love that. Now let's look at the other side of it. What are some new opportunities, or where you see a great deal of opportunity with more of this shift to remote, or having your team anywhere around the world, maybe?
Yeah. I think the opportunity that I'm most excited about is that there is a larger pool of talent out there, right? Everybody is now working towards this remote or this hybrid kind of a model. And quite frankly, the companies that can adapt to that are going to lose quality talent to the companies that can adapt to that, right? And are open to that. So what I'm really excited about is, so I'm based in Orlando, and really I had the greater Orlando area pool to go after. And now I can get individuals from Austin, from California, from all these different tech hubs, Atlanta, right, where there's just so much talent out there that I can kind of recruit now. So that's one of the biggest areas of opportunity. I think for sales leadership, you got to pivot, right? You can't just sit behind a rep and watch them work anymore. You got to learn how to trust. Right. And that's a big thing. You don't know what your rep is doing, but you also can't micromanage them every minute of the day. And so you got to learn how to trust. Again, going back to casting those visions, setting the right expectations for your team. And if they fail to meet those expectations, having those coaching conversations versus, micromanaging their activity every single day or sitting behind them like a hawk. It's learning how to coach. And then for reps, you got so much freedom now. You have so much freedom to do whatever you want. But you have to use your time wisely. You have to know how to manage your time, right? Like, you're not just sitting in the office where you can browse on Facebook anymore, right? So you have to be able to manage that time and understand what those expectations are and how to get there on your own versus a manager sitting behind you, right? So there's so many areas of opportunity now that you can really leverage, but also pitfalls that you can really kind of land in if you don't do it correctly.
Yeah, with all of this opportunity, remote staff being able to communicate with customers all around the world, I love that you're thinking about the beauty of the opportunity, but also the pitfalls associated with this disconnected workforce. It has to stay disciplined in order to be successful.
That's right.
Now you're at an event. We'll say it's an in-person event, just so we can enjoy that feeling. You're at an event, yeah. And somebody comes up to you, introduces themselves. They're a new VP of sales for medium-sized organization. They share they're a little nervous but excited, and ask you for one nugget of advice. What would you start with?
Oh man, one negative advice. Okay, I'm gonna try and slim it down here. I think the number one thing you should do as a new VP of sales, a new go-to-market leader, know your ICP. And when I say know your ICP, it is not just their title. Oh, my ICP is the VP of sales in Georgia, right? Like, that's not your ICP. Your ICP is understanding what is their current situation, what's currently going on in their world. What are the challenges that they are commonly faced with? And then what is their ideal state, right? Where do they want to be? And how does your product or solution fill that gap and help them get there, right? And once you understand that, you are really training yourself and your reps to be experts in the industry rather than just, product feature dumpers, right? To say the least. And so it's being able to be that extra. And so you can politely challenge them at that point if you know they're doing things the wrong way. And then the product demo is simply supplemental to the things that you're coaching them on and consulting them on. So if there's one thing, know your ICP backwards and forwards.
Yeah, knowing your ideal customer is such an important thing, and being able to connect with them, know when you're talking to the right person or not talking to the right person. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yep.
So as I've enjoyed the conversation, very quick, easy, but full of insight. So thank you for taking the time to do this. There's no doubt that folks, you mentioned you're a mentee as well as, or you have mentees, as well as no doubt there's other people in your realm that you're connected to that have great insights. Is there anybody that you'd like to mention that you suggest I connect with and perhaps invite on the show?
Oh man, how much time do you have? There's some common names out there, right? So I'm just going to start name dropping. Kevin Dorsey, Amy Volas, Scott Leese. I think those are the big ones. Derek Grant has always been, has been my boss and my mentor for as long as I can remember. Dale Dupree's fantastic. He's local here in Orlando. And then I would say Katie Ivey and Larry Long Jr. If I could bottle up Larry's energy and passion and just feed it to everybody, oh my God, that guy is amazing. So definitely those individuals for sure.
It sounds like you're going to keep me very busy having conversations, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much for mentioning their name, and I will look forward to reaching out to them.
Pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Anthony, thank you for taking the time to be here. Really appreciate the insights that you shared. And I have no doubt that the listeners and watchers get an awful lot out of this. So thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Mark.
And thank you, folks, for taking the time to join on this episode of Sales Growth Showcase. Make sure that you subscribe so that you'll be notified of future episodes. And until next time, I hope you reach invincible success.